together. I'm Dina PMI from the PMI Switzerland, from the local event chapter, and I'm very happy to welcome here you all as our guests for this evening. I hope no one is here because he is really affected of burnout, and the idea why I brought Dina here is I'm a project leader, I'm a team leader, I have a lot of teammates, and I want to know how we are feeling. Are we near a burnout or are we fine? And I hope to learn some signs to read my colleagues and then to tell the people what we can do against this. She has so positive feeling and she brings it, and she's very attentive. And I think if she says, we can believe it's not only what she is selling, it's what she is living. And I hope you have also the good feeling after this session and you learn something about you and something about your colleagues, something about burnout and what it is and what it not is, and how to prevent it. And now I wish you, give you the stage, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you. Thank you. So what we're going to be looking at today is actually demystifying burnout. So the idea is that we're going to identify the signs of burnout, and we're going to look at how we can possibly counteract its effects. Now, the point here is not that you get to the burnout stage, that anybody that you know actually gets to that stage. It's about what we can do to prevent getting to that final stage. Because I don't know about you, but speaking from my own personal experience, you do not want to get to that end stage. So what is it that we can do in our lives to prevent burnout from actually striking? So, as you know, my name is Dina PMI, and I believe that burnout happens for a reason. And today I want to focus on the positive effects of burnout, because what I do through my work is I support people in reigniting, reevaluating their lives, whether they're going through burnout or have burnt out. So first of all, we're going to identify and demystify burnout. And by that, I mean, what is burnout? There's a question, okay? Who is affected by burnout? And are you burning out? Or perhaps someone you know is burning out? What are the stages of burnout? And what leads to burnout? So this is the basis of the talk. And then I'm going to present very quickly the key concepts that are actually the underlying principles of the practical applications, the tools and strategies that we are actually going to try out today. So this is how I view burnout, is the voice finally telling us what we're doing or being is no longer serving us, whether this is within your professional or your personal life. It's telling you to stop, to rethink and find a new way forward. So that's very much as in the way that I view burnout. Because as high achievers, because we feel that we've got so much more to prove, we just keep doing, despite the cost. And the contradiction in all of this is that we are told to have a balanced life. But like Janice Lutrano says, and I agree with this, I get fed up with the work-life balance. There isn't such thing as a work-life balance, it's just life, okay? And we only have one life, and what's important is that we are aware of it. But unwittingly, in our endeavour to become more balanced, we become more unbalanced until we can and possibly do burn out. And then, who are these? So can we put a name to what sort of people they fit into this high achiever field? Well, they could be airline pilots, they can be psychotherapists, singers, tattoo artists even, managing directors, overseas development workers, singers, social workers, geophysicists, health practitioners. So what I've got here for you is, I've got a little checklist which we're going to do. go through the checklist for yourself. If you want to do it now, you can of course do it for home. Well, we all like to think, like I said, it's overwork that leads to burnout. And in fact, as I found out, working too much, too long, and focusing on my work and dedicating myself, not 100%, and I'm sure you can resonate with this, but dedicating myself to my work 200% was an escape from the real stuff that was going on inside. It was also an escape of the personal issues, the personal things that were going on in my life. Also the inability to say no, that was my biggest issue. Oh, who's got that? I don't have that anymore actually, I do say no, because that was the problem, not knowing your boundaries. And that can also lead to taking on more tasks because you feel responsible and you also feel that no one else can actually do this than you. Competition, whether that's competing with yourself or competing with other people. Pessimism can lead to burnout as well. So when we have a negative perspective on life. Lack of self-care. I was quite guilty of that one as well. So when I'm talking about self-care, it's actually taking time for yourself. Taking time to enjoy those quiet moments, looking after yourself. It can be the other extreme, of course, when we don't eat well, when we perhaps engage in excessive types of activities, whether it's engaging in excessive sports or even drink, even drugs, sex, whatever. That is also a part of the self-care. Because what it actually does, it's numbing out everything. Okay, it just numbs everything. Negative thinking styles. So we have a very black and white way of seeing things, and we also personalise setbacks. The heavy workload leads to burnout as well, and that could be due to redundancies, restructuring, and then you're just taking on again more because of changes within a company. Job control and satisfaction. So taking on a role which actually isn't part of your job description because you don't want to displease. You want to do this, you want to show that you can go ahead and do this because, well, you don't want to let other people down, and that's another aspect of it. But much of the tools that I'm looking at today are based on positive psychology interventions. And positive psychology was actually found, or not found because it's been around for a very, very long time, but now it's taken precedence, and thanks to Martin Seligman, who is the founder of positive psychology, he mentions that there are 5 areas of our lives that are conducive to well-being. Now, we're not just talking about happy feelings, right? When we're talking about positive psychology, it's not just all happiness and being happy. It's more than that. So it's a theory of well-being, and there's so much wonderful research out there. Just we're looking at things, and that also includes not only happiness, but also how we deal also with negative emotions, engagement. So when we do something, when we're learning something, when we're in the flow, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. So these are the underlying, let's say, aspects of positive psychology. Wherever you are now, you mustn't forget that you always have a choice. There's always a choice that you can make to support you, to avert you from burnout, and to actually support you moving in a more healthy way of life. So we are 100% responsible for our lives, and it's about taking, or rather not taking, responsibility. But there's a little formula that I will quickly share with you, and it's about this idea of pausing for a moment. Just always pause, be mindful of what is actually going on. And if anything, it's this little formula called E plus R equals R. So E actually denotes the events that are happening in our lives, the situation that we're finding ourselves in. And R is the response to the situation. And O is actually the outcome. Now, if you find that your emotions are really high, well, we first need to do something differently, and that is to distract the emotions. So first of all, that's when we pause, we breathe, and then we need to ask ourselves, okay, is it what I'm feeling? Is it what I'm seeing? Is it what I'm doing real? Is it the reality of the situation? And then once we distract the emotion, then we can dispute it and think, okay, what do I need to do in order to get the outcome that I want? So yes, of course, I'm not saying sometimes we've got choice A and we've got B, and they're both pretty rubbish. But again, it's how we change our attitude and how we respond to the situation, and then that can then lead us to making that decision at the end as if where you want to go. So it's not making drastic decisions, drastic choices, but taking those small steps. But I just want to say thank you for coming, and I hope that you take something, even if it's one teeny thing, that you can take away with you, share with others, just to change in how you move forward, because you don't need to burn out before you make small, significant changes. So thank you very much, everybody.
Hello, I'm Stefan from PMI Switzerland, and today we have a session with Dina. And Dina told us about burnout. What is burnout, and how can I realize that I'm near to the burnout?
This was the most interesting event of the PMI Switzerland in the last 2 years or so. It happened also to have teammates with some problems. Luckily, I could identify them in the last years, but you never know. So it's good to have this kind of instruments to understand exactly what to do and to use them to identify issues in general.
I'm taking home a lot of techniques that will be useful. A lot of the signs of burnout I recognize, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. The presenter, Dina, is definitely very knowledgeable.
I am just feeling extremely satisfied and really happy with the outcome of the workshop today, which I gave for the Project Management Institute, PMI, Switzerland, the Basel chapter. So basically what I did today was I talked about burnout, and I talked about what burnout is, I identified the phases of burnout, and we also looked at who is affected by burnout and actually what we can do to counteract its effects. The great thing was that people were so open, participants were so open to actually take away and experience the activities and tools that I presented to them. So that was an added bonus. And of course, it meant some people moving and going beyond their comfort zone, but they absolutely enjoyed it. And I'm sure that everybody has taken something away from it today.
Everyone today knows one who is burnt out or who is near burnt out, and our high-performing society brings a lot of people near to this burnout situation. I was very happy to learn from her more about this burnout. That is a thing that is very common in our nowadays life, and that is something we should talk about. We should not hide, we should be open to talk. This will help us all. Thanks, Dina.